There are people that are related to their prophecies to an extent that the prophecy cannot go out and cause things to happen without their knowledge. Such men should be honored and respected and be listened. I've realized, me being a man of God, there's a desire that I always had for a very, very long time when it comes to the understanding of the prophetic. I want to present to you a man that I want to look at, and I want us to analyze with a sober mind, analyze and look at the utterances that he has given, a man called Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa. When you're analyzing a man of God, there's no way you can do that without sitting down and criticize the man, because you cannot get an understanding in the depth of a matter if you don't sit down and criticize it. I want us to enjoy and relax and look at this particular prophecy that the man of God gave on the in regards of the mass shooting prophecy, the mass shooting. The title on YouTube is Mass Shooting Prophecy by Emmanuel Makandiwa. When it comes to this prophecy, the depth of this prophecy to me is in the time that it was given. So looking at the time, to me, time makes this prophecy or this man of God, this prophet, outstanding. Starting from 2010, giving out details of an event that is going to take place 8 years later. That's I don't know how to call it. It's on its own league. That alone is on its own league. A number of prophecies, I said we want to relax and talk. A number of prophecies that we have seen that are, let's say, similar to what he has given about the shooting that took place, this and that, were very close to the event. We know, and if you go on YouTube, we are on YouTube right now, there are some prophecies that are there. If you look at dates that were given there, no one was this far from the event as the prophet here. The rest were very close to the event. Some were 2 months before the event, 2 weeks, 2 days before the event, 4 months before the event. But the prophet here came 8 years before. That's scary. If you are a prophet and you are listening to me, you understand the depth of what let's say the prophet had heard about this thing, let's say from other sources that are not God. We can say maybe the man of God heard from politicians. They spoke to him, they told him, okay, this is going to happen. And then he went to his church and he gave it as a prophecy. You get that when you're trying to understand and criticize, to say, but is it not the case here? But you look at the time now, the time fights for the man. Looking at the situation of the nation by then in 2010, people were just coming from 2008 chaos where everything was upside down in the country. And to have hope and for the government or for the officials to have a picture of how 2018 is going to be whilst in 2010, it was totally impossible. It was totally impossible. Let's say it was possible, and then the individuals or the officials spoke to the men of God and they gave him information of what is going to happen 8 years later, to say, okay, this is going to happen, we are planning this shooting, the people will come out and then they will do a peaceful demonstration, and then this is going to happen, we are going to have soldiers coming in for peace, and then we are going to have other people that we are going to talk about in the next program coming in to join with camouflage, and then shootings, this and that. But you have to look at this now, that let's say the prophet was told that in 2010. Who might have told him that, looking at the dispensation, that 2008, the leadership that is, or that was there, is not the same leadership that was then in 2010. Which means if one had told the men that, okay, there's going to be this that we are planning, and that person, something might have happened to him, and then suddenly is out of the office, the dispensation, the season changed. If the prophet had got information via that channel, it simply means the information that was likely going to get then was not going to work in 2018, because it was a new government in 2018. So that one alone, time fights for the men to say, there's no way he might have accessed any form of information in regards to this prophecy. The other thing that we want to look at is, which is outstanding to me, is his ability. Listen to me now. Listen to me. Listen. His ability to know when something is about to happen. It seems as if every, not some, but every major event that takes place, I want you to get this part, that most prophets who have given prophecies, it is their prayer that people get to forget their utterances. Especially when you give a prophecy in 2010, and then for the next 7 years, there's dead silence about what you said 7 or 8 years ago. It will be your prayer that people can just forget what you said, because they will call you a liar. But we've got the men of God on record several times coming back, reminding people that, remember what I said, especially on this part. I just enjoy this part for that reason, that he came back and said, remember what I said. I just want you to listen to this part. Just want you to listen.
I'll give you a clip of 2010. I was standing over there putting on a white suit, and I gave a prophecy about a soldier. And listen to me, listen to me.
So, this is 2000, as you can see, 2014. And he's coming back. No one has told him to come back. No one said nothing. He's just coming back 4 years later to say, remember the word that I gave you about a soldier, which we will look at later, and I will show you something about that, the soldier part. He's the one coming back. He is not praying that we forget that he said something. He's the one coming back and he's saying, remember, I gave a prophecy about a soldier. He's trying to cause us to remember that there's something that he said, because he knows when something is about to happen. So that ability is the one that I want you to get on this program. That if you are someone who's interested in studying men of God and their ministries, how they how they prophesy this and that, you get to understand the unique part of the men of God here. The unique part of the men of God here is his ability to predict, number one. Number two, the ability to know when something is about to happen. Looking at the prophecies that is given in the past, because we cannot forget the past. He gave a prophecy about the president, who was the vice president then, the poison. He gave details and he said, I'm seeing this and this happening, food entering his mouth and blood coming out of his mouth. And he spoke about the helicopter that took the men from the scene to the hospital. All that is happening before. There's no way that one can go out and say, we are planning to poison the men. Telling the prophet or telling someone, telling this one, is something that is done under the carpet. No one has to know. But we've got the men of God here who's coming and he's saying, God showed me this, and he spoke about the food, which means he saw it. He spoke about the poison, which means he saw it. He spoke about the blood coming out of his mouth, he saw it. He spoke about, he also spoke about the helicopter, which means he saw it. He said, let us pray for him because only prayers will save him, which means he saw prayers of the saints saving the men. And then the outstanding part is he goes to church on a Sunday. And then he announced in church that this week, watch the news, read the newspapers. There's a video that I want to show you when we meet next week on Sunday. Something that I spoke about would have happened. Just go read the news. Which means he knew that from this Sunday to the next Sunday, that word he gave about the poison would have happened. This is a secret, a top secret conducted by trained, well-trained individuals who are trained to do this. He's getting it in his closet as a man of God. There's no secret to him. He's seeing it and seeing, let's say, any other prophet can see. But knowing when something is about to happen makes him different from the rest of the prophets that we have today. That's my understanding. That's my understanding. And I want you to understand and to see that part. Maybe you didn't see it. So he says, read the news, and then by Sunday, the coming week, we saw news all over, just 2 days before Sunday, exactly what he said happened. The poison, the helicopters, everything happened as it is. When he came back on Sunday, there was news to talk about during that week. And the news that was trending was exactly what he had said in the past in a prophecy was in the church. So that part of the relationship that he has with his utterances makes him outstanding, because a number of prophets are cheated by their prophecies. A number of prophets are cheated by their own prophecies. It seems to him the prophecies that he gives, they don't go out and manifest and come back to him as breaking news via newspapers or any media house. He comes out and he says, remember what I said. like on the path that I have showed you, I was saying, remember what I said. And then you prepare you for what is about to happen. And then it will happen exactly as that. So that part, if you are a child of God, if you're a pastor, you're a bishop, you're a prophet, especially if you're a prophet, you understand that very few or none except him has got that ability to come out and say, remember what I said. And then you give a time frame to say 7 days from now. Read the news, and then for sure in that 7 days there's news to talk about, and the news to talk about has got something to do with the poison that he spoke about. Not touching on other prophecies that he gave, but just on that one and this one makes him somebody who knows what he's doing. When he speaks, he knows what he's doing. He knows the temperatures of his prophecies. He knows when his prophecy is going out and when his prophecy is coming in. On this prophecy, we've got a part where he spoke about the uniforms. And you hear him saying, I saw something like a factory. And these people are sewing our camouflage. Then he spoke and he said, I see these people coming into the country. And this happening. And after that he says, and the uniforms will be found dumped somewhere. I want you to see it this way. That God is not just showing him the event of a soldier shooting at people, but the background information, where the camouflage came from, and how they put them on, and the time that they took them off. This has nothing to do with what is going to cause breaking news. What is going to cause breaking news, or what caused breaking news, might be the shooting that took place, which is on video. But getting to see where they took them off and getting to an extent of saying there will be cameras and we'll see these things damned. It seems as if the man is seeing everything from how it started. It's like, for an example, you attend a musical show or a comedy show. Then you are privileged to see when the musician is rehearsing, which is not something that is on your ticket. Your ticket allows you to watch and enjoy a perfected scene, a perfected program, a perfected act. But it seems as if for him, he is having that ability not only to see the main act, but the background too, where he even saw the tailors. Imagine right now, from 2010, it was about the soldier that he said, I saw, shooting at people. Then he comes back, he spoke about tailors, which means if he decides to measure on the tailor who made the camouflage, it's another prophecy. If he decides to measure on the place and how they took off the camouflage, it's up to him. Same as the poison prophecy, where he said poison. There's no way God can just show you poison without showing you the person behind the poison. The same way he identify the person who ate the poison is the same way with his level of dimension. This is the same way he could have seen even the people behind, even the doctors treating the man, seeing the abilities, their level of education, which led him to say, it's only prayers that will save the man, not medication, not the doctor's expertise, but the prayer, which means he even saw the level of the condition of the man, how serious the man is, and the level of the doctors that are taking care of him, the level of their intelligence, their knowledge, which led him to say, let us pray, because it's only prayer, not medication, but prayer, which will save the man, which is something that he could have decided to dwell on. But when you're analyzing, you get to see all these things that, okay, so if he is saying this, does it mean that the doctors were not good? Why is it prayer, not the doctor? Because the man is not being treated in the church. He's in a hospital, which means he saw their medicine, that the medicine is weak compared to what has been swallowed by the man. You see, that's another angle that we can look at, that there are details that we can look at which can lead us to understand the depth of his sight, the depth of his vision, and the understanding of the voice of God that is God. So guys, I want you to wait for the next program where I'll come and we'll get into details now. Today, I just wanted to show you the time, watch the time matters. The prophecy is 8 years long. It's not 13 minutes. It's 8 years long. And this man has got that ability to follow one event for 8 good years. Look at the level of patience. 8 years following one event. 8 years following one event. 8 years following one event, coming here and there about 5-6 times, talking about one event in a period of 8 years. And in that period of 8 years, as you go now, even as I go out of your way, in that period of 8 years, the president who was the president in 2010 is not the president that was the president when the prophecy was completed. A lot happened in between, in the political parties, in the nation. But the prophet remained maintaining his position as a prophet, and he kept on believing in what he saw, and what he saw happened in the next chapter of life. When Zimbabweans were happy and celebrating, he kept on maintaining that I saw what I saw, I saw what I saw, which can then separate the prophet from any other source, which is not God. Because if there was a source in 2010, it was going to mess up the event in 2018 because the government would be a different one. But because the government changed in between, but the prophets did not change. The prophet did not alter his words. It shows you that he's operating above political parties, above individual interests. He's operating above all that. His word doesn't fall on the ground because something is twisted in the physical. His word remains the same that he got from God, even when there are changes in the physical, which makes this prophecy one of the outstanding prophecies whatsoever. In the Bible, there's a man called Elijah. Elijah saw a small cloud and he told the king to run. He could see that there's a small cloud here and it's a sign that heavy rains are about to come. But the man of God, Emmanuel Makandiwa here, seems to be operating on a higher dimension beyond that of Elijah. Why am I saying that? Because in 2018, the small cloud was not there. But he told the king to run. It wasn't there, but he told the king to run. He gave it, and he said, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. He came again 2014, 2016. The small cloud was not there whatsoever. But he told the king to run. The man was our president then. Everything was okay. No one could dare to point a finger at him. But at some point, the whole nation did that. But the man came 8 years before that, and he spoke about all those things, which means the cloud, which is of the size of like a small hand, was not even there. But he told kings and individuals to run. So as I come back your way, these are my last words. There are people that are related to their prophecies to an extent that the prophecy cannot go out and cause things to happen without their knowledge. Such men should be honored and respected and be listened to. So next time I'm coming, I want to show you details in the prophecy. Today I just wanted you to understand the time zones and the relationships, or the relationship of the man and his words, how he doesn't change his position regardless of the changes physical. God bless you. See you next time. Wait for me next time. I want to show you something here. God bless you. Shalom. Enjoy your day. Bye.